Jagrative, Jai Masters. What does that mean? Meditate on the self. Honor and worship your own being, for God dwells within you as you. If somebody were to ask you, this light that exists during the day, where is it emanating from? What is it? You might point at the sunshine. It covers the earth. There it is. It's the light of day. But the truth of the matter is, that's not what it is. It is emanation from the sun, from the star that exists 93 million miles away. It doesn't come down here. It just emanates its essence. Its essence doesn't go away because it emanates it. It's been burning for 4.5 billion, and I think they estimate it will go for another 4.5 billion, so don't worry about it. But look at all the light that falls everywhere on the earth. So if you just look at the light, you're missing the source. How few people bother to look at the source during the day. And so you look up and you say, oh, there's a star out there, and it's all coming from that. They often call consciousness the light of consciousness. I'm sure you've heard that, the light of consciousness. Why? Because its character and its characteristics are very close to light. In other words, your consciousness, awareness of being, is aware of the outside world. Your consciousness, the awareness of being, is aware of your body and all of its feelings and joys and pains and pleasures. Your consciousness falls upon your emotions. You're aware of your emotions. It falls upon your thoughts. That's how you know you have thoughts. But just as the sunlight falls upon the earth, but doesn't come down to earth, it remains in its source, so your consciousness does not come down at all. You do not live in your body. You do not live in your thoughts. You do not live in your emotions. You do not live in this world. Just like the sun does not live on the earth, even though it affects the earth and projects onto the earth, projects its light onto the earth. So consciousness has a seat from which it emanates its awareness. If I look at a picture, I don't go to the picture. I don't have to get up and go to the picture. I just stay where I am, and I aim my consciousness at the picture, and consciousness, awareness, is emanated onto the picture. That's how I become aware of it, as awareness. It's just like the sun emanating its light onto the earth. It does not come down to earth. So this question of going back to God, I take offense with that. The light doesn't have to go back to the sun. The sun is the light. It's just emanating it down. So likewise, your consciousness is at all times seated in the seat of consciousness. Just like the sun is seated 93 million miles away, way back in space, but yet emanates onto the earth. Your consciousness is seated way, way, way back inside. And in that saying, God dwells within you, it is speaking of the truth that that consciousness is the divine consciousness. There's only one consciousness, just like there's only one sun, but it falls everywhere. Likewise, there is one consciousness, but it is emanating onto your thoughts, your thoughts, your thoughts, your thoughts, your emotions, your world through your senses. It is the same consciousness that is emanating down, focusing on your earth, okay? Your mind, your thoughts, your emotion, your senses, okay? But it also is hers and hers and hers and hers and hers, just like the sunlight falls everywhere. I want you to think of your personal consciousness as a beam of sunlight, just one of the rays, and it shines on one spot, okay? There are many other rays, but that ray is shining on one spot. The divine consciousness, the seat of consciousness, its one ray is emanating down and focusing on your thoughts, your emotions, your body, and what comes in through your senses. And right next to you, the next ray from the same place is emanating hers and yours and yours and yours and the mosquitoes, and every single consciousness is the same. It comes from the same place, just like all the light of the sun that falls on the earth comes from the same place simultaneously. That's what's meant by universal consciousness, and I never use the word because I grew up in the 60s and it was just way bastardized. Okay? I don't want to use the word universal consciousness. And I don't want to use the word returning to God or expanding your consciousness. Okay? The sun doesn't have to expand anything. It is already emanating its light all over the place. The fact that you focused it through a magnifying glass and now it's burning one little tiny spot, that didn't affect the sea of the sun, did it? You just focused so totally on one spot that nothing else existed for you except that spot. That is what's happening. You are seated right now in the highest seat that could possibly exist, period, and you've never left, ever. But just like I can focus on me, or I can focus on the picture, you have focused on this set of thoughts, these set of emotions, this bodily sensitivity, and what is coming through your senses. Okay? That's the truth, by the way. That is the essence of all the deep teachings. The Kabbalah, yoga, Sufism, all the deep Buddhist teachings teach the same exact thing. All of spirituality teaches the same thing. You are not what you're looking at. The fact that I'm looking at that picture does not make me any more the picture than if I look at that picture. You understand that? You are not your thoughts. You are aware of your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You're aware of your emotions, aren't you? Are you aware of your thoughts? Otherwise, how do you know you have them? Obviously, you know you have thoughts. I like people, oh my God, my mind's bothering so much. Look at that. My mind. Whose? That's a possessive pronoun. This is my purse, my pants. I'm not the pants. By definition, if you say my thoughts, you've admitted you're not your thoughts. There are things you're aware of. There are things that are yours. Whose? See, your language speaks properly. You just don't pay attention. My emotions are driving me crazy. You're not the emotions. You are the one who's focused on the emotions. You're the consciousness. Somebody once asked Yogananda, right? I want to know God. I want to know God. Master, I want to know God. He just stopped nonchalantly and he said the deepest thing that could ever be said. He dwells right behind your every thought. Now you could just let that go right through, or you could pay attention. Who dwells right behind your every thought? The consciousness that is aware of the thought. You are aware that that thought took place. But you're so involved in the thought, or the picture, you're so involved in what you're looking at, that you pay no attention to who's looking. That is the essence of the fall from the garden. That is literally what's meant by the fall from the garden. You are seated in the divine consciousness. Life can still exist. The world can still be created. It's fun. It's Disney World. And you, the divine consciousness, universal, absolute, eternal, created it to play, to experience, like you make dreams. It's a video game. And you're looking down at it, and you're playing. It's God's Leela, God's dance, sport. Okay? The problem is, literally, the most amazing thing that happens is, if you pay enough attention to something, you identify with it. You're not it because you paid more attention to it. You understand that? But the fact that you're paying attention to it, let's say I'm born with 4 fingers. Okay? Fine. I got 4 fingers. Other people have 5. I got 4. Okay? But if I focus on it, that's who I become, isn't it? I'm the person with 4 fingers. I'm afraid, embarrassed to shake your hand. I'm this, I'm that. I got victim consciousness. Do you understand? In other words, it caused me to focus so much of my consciousness on that one aspect of creation. The number of fingers on this hand. What's the difference between the one who's got handicapped consciousness and the one who's just going about their life the best they can with no problem like that? It's beautiful, isn't it? Right? Are you identified with it, or are you just living with it? If your consciousness focuses on it so much, that's who I am. No, it isn't. You are the consciousness that's aware that on one of your hands there's 4 fingers, and most people have 5. Fine, I'm glad you're aware. Good, that's just what it is. All right? Or, no. so focused on it that I've defined myself as the person with 4 fingers. See the difference? Either you're just aware of it or you identified with it. And guess what you guys do? You identify with everything. Everything. Okay? I'm the one whose parents got divorced. I'm the one who didn't like their stepfather. I'm the one who got dumped in junior high school. I've never felt comfortable dating ever since. I'm the one that blah, 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 blah. You identify with the experiences you had. You are not the experience you had. It is not true that you're the sum of your learned experiences, as psychology teaches. It is true that your mind becomes programmed to be the sum of your experiences because you store the experiences inside your mind. But you, the consciousness, are the one who's aware that that is going on. You are not the sum of your learned experiences. You are the self. You are the consciousness. And by the way, that's what's meant by Atman. That's what's meant by self. That's what's meant by soul. Don't get confused by words. They're talking about you. Who? You in there. I generally start this conversation by asking, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to ask, are you in there? Are you in there? Yes or no? No one ever said no. I've been there for 50 years. No one ever said no. I don't care how lost they are. I don't care if they're Democrat, Republican, liberal, right-wing, doesn't matter. Are you in there? Yes. How do you know? I don't want to talk about it. Right? What if a scientist says, I've studied it, you're not in there? Laugh and walk away. Because there's nothing you know more than you know that you're in there. The problem is that you, the consciousness, identify with what you stare at. You identify with your thoughts. You identify with your emotions. You identify with your body. And you identify with your car, your house, your kids, your husband, your wife. Those things are outside of you. They're not even in you. They're out there. And you identify with everything. Okay? Now, that's the spiritual discussion. So basically, at some point, you wake up, and I don't think you'd be here if you had not, to realize this is not working. What? Falsely identifying myself with who I'm not. Even psychology calls it your self-concept. What is a concept? Something that's not real. Something you made up. Have you ever changed yourself so you'd be acceptable to somebody else or be more popular or anything like that? You know you have. That's what high school's for. To learn how to do that, okay? And get really screwed up. You know you've done that. Well, that means that's not you. Right? It's basically you're in there using your will to change your personality, to change your self-concept, which you identify with. So let's just get spiritual about it. The consciousness does not come down. You have never left God. You are the highest being that ever lived. That's where you are right now. All right? If I'm sitting in this chair, but I am addicted to staring at that picture, where am I? In the chair or in the picture? As far as my consciousness is concerned, I'm in the picture. Because I don't feel myself. I don't look at myself. I've projected my consciousness onto that picture, therefore identify with that. How can I identify with this? You're only aware of what you're aware of. So I'm aware of the picture and nothing. I'm staring at it. I don't say anything else. I used to give a talk like this. Maybe it'll help. Don't do it. I'll do it for you. Raise your hand and stare at it. What do you mean? Every line, every drop, everything. I want you to stare at it. For how long? Forever. You now have hand consciousness. There is nothing else in your world but that hand. There are no other people. There's nothing else. Do you understand that? If you can focus your consciousness completely on that hand, there might as well not be the rest of the world. Okay? I can do that with a picture. I can do that with my house, my kids, my wife, and then my career, the letters after my name, BS, MBA, DR. All right? You're just identifying with things that are not you. If you're aware of it, it's not you. People ask me, but which of my thoughts are me? None. Which of the pictures is me? None. But that was about my wedding. No, it's not you. It's a picture. None of them are you, are they? Come on. Okay? They are things you are aware of. That's what's meant by meditating on the self. Pay attention to who's aware, not what you're aware of. I'll repeat that. Pay attention to who's aware, not what it's aware of. It's aware of a lot of things. It's aware of all your thoughts, aware of all your memories. Your memories are not you. Your memories are not you. They're things that got stored in your mind, and you can bring them back up and be aware of them. Okay, but what happened is, when you got lost, how do you get lost? By not remaining in your seat of consciousness, in your seat of being, which happens, by the way, to be ecstatic. And we can get there later, right? It's like, why you would leave ecstasy, I have no idea. Why you would leave nirvana, I have no idea. Why would you leave a state of absolute unconditional love flowing through at all times in the highest level that could ever be, okay? But you did. Because consciousness, if it just spends too much time focusing on something, begins to identify with it. That's a very deep thing, okay? Psychology agrees, by the way, right? You're supposed to give a child one crib, one set of parents, one place to sleep, one blankie, one toy. You understand that? You've got to let them focus on it so they ground and build a stable self-concept so that they're not freaking out and they're not knowing who they are. Why did they need to build a self-concept? Because the minute they focused on this body, and we'll talk about why, the minute that beam of consciousness focused on this body, it got lost. Why? The body is loud. It distracts your consciousness. Anything, any feeling, good, bad, joy, pain, it distracts your consciousness, doesn't it? Because, bam, all your awareness, that's why you like pleasurable things and you don't like painful things. Because, like here, can your body feel pain? All right? Well, do you have to focus on it? Shh, I'm talking deep tonight. You can focus on a picture instead. Why would you put your consciousness on the part that hurts the most? Doesn't even make sense. Gandhi didn't do it. You understand that? That was one trait Gandhi had. He was a very high being, right? They beat him up. They starved him. They threw him. Oh, my God, what they did to that man. You hear me? Come back for more. No big deal. No big deal. He wasn't afraid of pain. It wasn't anything. He could handle it just fine. You don't have to put your consciousness there. Right? You don't have the ability to. Why? Because you're distracted. That which is loudest distracts your consciousness. A sound, a bright light, a person doing something you don't like, emotions that are difficult, thoughts that are difficult, feelings that are difficult, physical feelings and so on. They distract your consciousness. If somebody says something you don't like, ever think about it again? You can't not. Your conscience just focuses on it for hours, mulling over it, okay? So distraction is a very, very deep spiritual word. In fact, distraction is the fall from the garden. You got distracted by your body's messages, and then your consciousness focused on it so fully that you identify with your body. You're not your body. Look at your hand. Do you see it? Yes. Who sees it? Your hand sees itself? You see it. I do in the new book. I almost got in trouble. I was afraid to put it in because you guys wouldn't like it. All right? Bam, it's cut off. Do you see that it's not there? Yes. Did you see when it was there? Yes. Was it the same you? Was the same you who saw the hand when it was there as the you who now knows it's not there? Yes, it's the same consciousness. You're not your body. You're aware of your body. Okay? And they say the indwelling soul, I'm teaching you deeper than that. You're not indwelling. You're just staring at it. All right? The sun does not come down to dwell on the earth. Does it? It emanates its power, its light. Consciousness does not come down into the body. Never did, never will. It just focuses on it, and it doesn't have to come down to focus on it. No more than the sun has to come down. Or no more than you have to go to the picture to see it. It just focuses its awareness on it from wherever it is. Imagine it like sunbeam, right? Awareness beams come down and shine on the object, and then it can't get off. It identifies with it. And then when you identify with it, you lose who you are, because you are not your body, and you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions. You're the consciousness aware of your body, aware of your thoughts, and aware of your emotions. And you sure as heck are not the world. It was here before you got here. I can't talk about it. Not only was it here before you got here for 4.5 billion years, and not only will it be here for a long time after you leave, it's everywhere you're not. Isn't it? The world's happening everywhere. You're just in one little spot. That's me. And it's not you. Look to the left. It's different. Look to the right. I don't understand what's wrong with you. The moment in front of you is no different than the moment that's not in front of you. It's a moment in time and space on the planet Earth. You don't like it? Look somewhere else. It has nothing to do with you. I wrote it very deeply in Living Untethered, the new book. I dared to say it. The moment in front of you has nothing to do with you. It just happens to be the moments unfolding on the planet Earth at this moment. There's plenty of other moments, aren't there? Why are they not you? Because your consciousness is not falling on them. So there you go. If your consciousness falls on you, you identify with it. You make it part of you. If the moment's doing something you don't like, you don't even let it go. The moment goes. No moment has ever stopped, has it? It just keeps moving, but not in you. If the moment that happens to be in front of you, the one out of the 800 trillion moments that there are, going on at the same time, if it happens to go in front of you and you don't like it, what do? You store it inside yourself and you mull over that moment for years. Freud called it suppression or repression. I call it resistance. It's true, isn't it? Are you hearing how silly this is? Why would you do such a thing? If you don't like the moment, let there be another one. It'll come in a minute. But not for you, because you store the one you didn't like and miss all the next ones. There are people that miss their whole life because they had a bad divorce. I can't ever love again. I don't trust anybody. I don't want anything. It molded who I am. That's absurd. By definition, I thought you got divorced. Outside you got divorced, not inside. Inside it's still molding your entire personality and everything you like, what you don't like, and who you trust and who you don't. Like the moment never passed. Guess what? It can. Don't you dare doubt it. There doesn't need to be anything. It's called Be Here Now. In the 60s, when I wrote that book, people used to practice Be Here Now. I'm being here now. Don't talk to me. I'm being here now. That's not what Be Here Now means. Be here now means don't be somewhere else. Be in the moment that's happening right now. You don't have to focus on it. The fact that you have to focus on it means that everything inside of you doesn't want to be in this moment. It wants to be in the future, it wants to be in the past. No. The natural state of being is the moment is in front of you, you are experiencing it, and then it goes and you're experiencing the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and you're not doing this thing of identifying yourself as the collection of all the bad moments you ever had. And generally that's what you do. You go study psychology. The vast majority of what you stored in there because you didn't like it. There may be a few that you like, but not very many. And by the way, you screwed those up also. Why? Because if you liked it, you want it to happen again. Don't you? Therefore, you can't experience the current moment because you're judging it against the moment you liked. So you can't be here now either. That's deep. Anybody willing to go that deep? The moments you dislike have screwed you up, and the moments you like have screwed you up. And I want to meet somebody who's kind of like George, but not as heavy, and doesn't have the southern accent. I don't want the southern accents. And no slurping of soup. And I want to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're just looking at everything that you ever liked and saying you want this to be that. Therefore, you can't let it be what it is. You can't let it be what it is. You can't love somebody. You can't love somebody. Why? Because you're busy trying to make them be the combination of what you liked before, and more importantly, not be one drop of what you didn't like before. And you wonder why relationships are so hard. Because you're not trying to have a relationship with another person. You're trying to have a relationship with yourself. How deep you want to talk? Okay? There's nothing sacrosanct around here. Relationships, death, birth, God. You just want to talk the truth. The truth is, it's a mess. And that's why it's a mess. That's why you're a mess. That's why the world is a mess. Because everybody's just really, really lost. So what do? We try harder to define ourselves as something that works. I'm the one who's got the corner office. I didn't get the corner office. I'm out of here. I can't believe you didn't give me the corner office. He got the corner office. I'm going to never talk to him again. You're messing yourself up, and you're messing everybody else up. And that's why there are wars. That's why there's disharmony. That's everything. Because the consciousness identified with what distracted it the most and then stored it inside the mind and the heart, stored the event inside the mind and inside the heart, so it's staring at it all the time until it becomes who you are. I'm the one whose parents got divorced and it was really ugly. You don't understand. I'm going to start a blog. And I'm telling you, my parents' divorce was uglier for me than it was for you, and let's make sure we're communicating this. All right? So, but when did your parents get divorced? When I was 6. How old are you? 66? So basically what's happening is you're back here. Remember that. You're back here. You are back here. I guarantee you're back here. And it's ecstatic back there. We'll talk about that later. But you are being distracted out of that seat of consciousness down to these objects that you stored. Why did I store them to start with? Because they distracted you. I don't even want to say because they were uncomfortable. They distracted you. Yes, discomfort distracts you. Guess what else does? Comfort. Just have a nice experience. Believe me, it distracts you. You want it to happen again, don't you? God, you came and you said you love me. When can I see you again? Can you say it again like that? I kind of forgot what you said. Did you really mean it? It's hard to believe, okay? Because you can't handle it. It distracted you. I usually talk about distraction because it doesn't feel good, but it does the same thing the other way. Well, what are addictions? What's a gambling addiction, a drinking addiction, a drug addiction, sex addiction? What are addictions? Things that distract you sufficiently that you feel better when you're doing them, and therefore that's what I want to do. Okay? Call them psychological problems all you want. That's what we all have. Psychological problems. Compared to where the true seat of a master is, we have serious psychological problems. Okay? So basically, you're focused on what you stored in there. Not focused on the here and now. And by the way, eventually you can't even focus on the here and now. Why? Because the here and now hits what's stored in there. Can I get quiet for a minute? Somebody looks like your sister. She's not your sister. But I guarantee you, my sister died. Now I feel sad every time I see you. Or I never got along with my sister, and I don't want you to remind me if I don't. Hello? It is not your sister. So what happens is you stored this stuff in there, and now the world comes in innocent. Just it is what it is, but it's not innocent, is it? There's none of it comes in. It doesn't hit your stuff. I like it, I don't like it, or get out of here, I'm bored. Like it's literally, that's your whole life. So now what do? Now you're in there with all this stuff that you stored in there because it distracted you. Is it true that the more you do something and focus on it, the more of an addiction it becomes? It just becomes a pattern. It's called a habit, isn't it? All right? So you have a habit of being distracted by these things. And so you store them in there. The more you store them in there, the more habitual they are. And now everything outside hits them and reminds you of them. So now I'm in trouble. I don't know who I am, and I've identified myself as this, and generally it's a bunch of not nice stuff that happened to me that hurt me, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so what do? This is the saddest part. Do I sit there and say, geez, I shouldn't have identified with this stuff. I need to go back to God. No, we do not say that. We sit there and say, it is not comfortable living in here. Well, of course it's not. You stored everything that ever bothered you inside of you. Why would it be comfortable in there? Anybody listen? Are you listening? I want to know. Did you not store everything that ever bothered you inside of you? The fact someone didn't say hello today. The fact that someone wore the same dress as you to the party. The fact that the fact that somebody lied a little, whatever, everything. Now, yesterday, 3 weeks ago, 10 years ago, it's all in there, isn't it? Because you stored it in there. So now it's not okay in there. So now what do? Now what do? I go to my mind. Which mind? The disturbed mind. And I ask it, oh mind, I know you're disturbed. What needs to happen for you to feel better? And your disturbed mind will tell you. She needs to be nicer to me. This needs to go away. I need to get a better job. I need people to respect me. I need to have more money so that I can travel and do things. Your mind will tell you, won't it? Whose mind doesn't tell him? All right? That's all. And so now what do? Now that my disturbed mind has figured out, based on its disturbances, because I stored them, what has to happen for me to be okay, is it going to happen by itself? You know it's not going to happen by itself. You got to go there and make it happen. Now you have fallen out of the seat of self, into the mind, into the heart, into the body, into the psyche, and now you're going to go out into the world that's none of your business. It's been here for 4.5 billion years, really 13.8, the whole world, but the Earth's been here for 4.5 billion. Every moment is the sum of everything that ever happened, cause and effect, just came out. It is the way it is because everything ever was. And I'm going out into that world, and I'm going to manipulate it and control it to make it appear before me the way I need it to be so I feel okay. Do I need to repeat that? Now what I need to do is go out into this world. I know you won't buy it. It has nothing to do with me. This moment that is here right now, why she's sitting there, why she's wearing what she's wearing, why she's laughing or not laughing, why she sneezed, why I coughed, it just has to do with everything that happened before, isn't it? Why'd she end up with that blouse? Why is she wearing it now? Every single thing is a result of all that ever was. I don't care. I want it to be the way I want it to be. People, places, things, events, they are supposed to be the way I want them to be so that I'm more comfortable with them. They are never supposed to be the way I don't want them to be. If they make me feel uncomfortable, they're wrong. If they make me feel comfortable, they're right. If they make me feel uncomfortable, I can't believe you said that. That was so wrong. You have no idea how it made me feel. That's absurd. Things are the way they are because of all the things that made them be that way. And if they happen to be unfolding in front of you, they're not yours. They belong to themselves. They belong to cause and effect. They belong to creation. They belong to God. They belong to science. What's this big difference between science and God? Nothing. Science says there's cause and effect. Why did it rain on my birthday? You know what the scientists should say? Get away from me. Nothing to do with your birthday. You did that. You're making everything be personal. The weather's not personal. It's not true that it always rains on your day off. The weather doesn't know it's your day off. The weather doesn't know it's your wedding day and you decided to have it outside. It doesn't know anything. It's just cause and effect. But you are making it personal. You are sitting there looking at this world that has nothing to do with you. It's just the moments unfolding through time and space based on the causes and effects that have come before from the beginning of time. All right? Here they are. Here they're in front of you, and you can't handle them. Why? Because you have these problems inside. Because you identified and got distracted and then built this whole concept of how things need to be for you to be okay. And then your mind told you, yes, it should be the way I want. It should never be the way I don't want. And then it projected it out there, and now you're in trouble. Because I don't know if you've noticed, it's not going to be the way you want. Who's noticed that yet? Don't raise your hand, right? And you got to manipulate things, right? And you don't understand. Things are the way they are for a reason. Do you have the right to be a reason in this moment? Yes. Can it have some influence? Not as big as you think it is. So this concept that I'm not okay, but I showed you why you're not okay. I'm not okay because I false identified with the events I collected inside my mind and emotions and then made a me. All right? And that me ain't doing too good, is it? Come on, guys. All right? It's got problems. We will always have problems, right? And now what do? I try to relatively conditionally be okay by having the moments unfold in front of me, now and in the future. I'll deal with the past in a moment. Now and in the future, that the moments unfold in front of me need to be the way that when they come in, they make me feel better, and not be the way I don't want it to be, make me feel worse. And what do I do about it? Everything. I do everything. I manipulate, control, conjure, plan, plot. Just whatever I can do. I dress a certain way, act a certain way, talk a certain way, drive a certain car, have a house that's nicer than everybody else's, have a career that's more popular than somebody else's, and impress everybody. And whatever I can do, that when I walk into that moment, it feels better. And that's how human beings live their lives. The new book is called Living Untethered, Beyond the Human Predicament. That is the human predicament, is it not? We're not okay, and we're trying to be conditionally okay by making the outside world match the part that makes us feel better and doesn't make us feel worse. Okay. Whew. Guess what? It doesn't work. It can't ever work. It can't possibly work. You'll end up with ulcers, with tension, with stress, anxiety. What is anxiety? I'm afraid that it won't be the way I need it to be. Has anybody worry? Has anybody know what the word worry means? You know what you worry? You worry that it won't be the way you want. You worry that it will be the way you don't want. There's not a single thing else you worry about. You worry that something's going to happen that you don't want. And it's going to bother you. It's going to hit your stuff. And you worry that it won't happen the way you need it to be so that you can feel better. It's all about the fact that you're not okay in there because you got lost and you identified with the most distracting things, and now your consciousness says, this is who I am. And then you're out there trying to manipulate. So what's the answer? Is there an answer? Yes. Thank God. You mean I don't have to live like that? You do not have to live like that. It's not a matter of coping. It's not a matter of tolerating. It's not a matter of compromising. It's not a matter of anything like that. That's all because you're keeping your stuff. Here's people who don't get along. Let's go to a marriage counselor. Which, by the way, I talk like this. Go to a marriage counselor. It's fine. We're not there yet, so go and do what you need to do in the meantime. I'm not here for that. I am not a counselor. I am not a life coach. I'm here to let you know what it can be like. It's not that way now, but I don't want you to think you have to tolerate, cope, and compromise. There's no good enough. It is very high in there, but there's a problem. Right? So what's the answer? Is there an answer? Yes, of course there's an answer. It's just common sense. If the problem is that I've stored stuff inside of me that bothered me, maybe I need to question that. Question what? That it bothered me? No, it bothered you. Why'd you store it? I don't know why you would store what bothered you. A moment ago I said you want the present moment to be the way you want. In other words, you can't handle it. And you want the future moments to be. All right? And I told you, you have very little control. You think you have control. Give me a break. Well, you look how big the earth is. Well, look how big the forces are that create the weather, that create personalities, that create every single thing that ever goes on. And here you are standing in one little spot, 3x6, and you're going to control it all, are you? And that's just on the planet Earth. You know, I cannot give a talk without telling you that 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. And you're standing on a 3 foot by 6 foot cube, because that's the moment you're experiencing. And you think you're going to control the whole thing, do you? Not just now, but in the future. All right. What about the past? I said present, you want to control. In the future, you want it to be the way you want. Did you want the past to be the way you want? Did you want things in the past to be the way you wanted them to be? Does it bother you now that they weren't? Does anybody have any problems with the past? There's nothing in there. It's just totally fine. Never comes back up, never disturbs you. Your past is in there, and you don't like it. You stored everything in the past you didn't like, and you can't change that, mother, can you? You ain't changing the past. You talk to me about the present, the future, fine. You can have some minor, minuscule influence temporarily, and then don't worry, it'll go back to its nature. But the past, no one has ever changed the past, have they? And yet, it's bothering you. That which you can't change ever and is already over is still bothering you. You did that. If the moment went by outside, it should have gone by inside. Why? Because it's not happening anymore. My parents got divorced 30 years ago. So, are they still getting divorced every day? No. Are they still alive? No. But I never forgave them. Okay, you got some problems, don't you? All right, so now we talk about how to get out, how to be okay inside, how to work your way. We've got to find our way back to the garden. That's what it said, right? How to work your way back. So you start off by saying, well, if the truth of the matter is that the reason I'm not okay is because my consciousness is focusing on something that's not okay. Me, my thoughts, my past, my dread of the future, my judgment of the present, isn't it? Okay? It's my consciousness is focused on something that's definitely not okay. So how can I be okay? Well, then we need to get the consciousness off of focusing on that which is not okay. And that's what positive thinking is, which is, well, if I complain about the weather all the time, I complain about everybody else, I complain about my husband, my wife, my kids, this, that, every single thing I've taken to soccer, I have to do this, oh my God, you're not going to be okay. You're not going to be okay because it's all negative. Why is it negative? Because you store all this negativity inside of you. It keeps coming up. So it is true that one rather basic level of working with yourself, that's what's about. It's not about working with everybody else. Everybody else is just the result of all that ever was. Your problem with them is that they're not being the way you need them to be because you got a problem. Okay? So you start off by sitting there saying, okay, I'm going to be more positive. I don't mind that. It's a first step. It's the first rung on the ladder. I'm going to be more positive. How do you do that? You're in there. You have will. You can sit there and say, the next time it says, oh my God, it's going to rain, you have the right to make your mind say, it means plants will grow. It means the forest will be watered. Okay? Why are you being so selfish? All you care about, I need to get out of my car and deliver this. Why does it have to rain now? No, you can work with that. You're a conscious being. So you replace the negative thoughts with positive ones. Instead of trying to manipulate everything, you sit there and work with yourself. The main point being, if you're going to be okay, you have to stop being distracted by the natural unfolding of life. Because if you're distracted by it, you identify with it, you focus on it, you either like it or don't like it. So how do you learn to do that? Nobody ever talked to you like this. Nobody ever talked to you about learning not to be distracted, unless they say you have ADHD. We all have ADHD. We are all distracted by ourselves. Our concepts, our views, our hopes, our dreams, our beliefs. Okay? You're addicted to yourself. Literally, not distracted, addicted. All right? How do you work your way out? I always teach this. And it's a unique teaching. Instead of saying, oh my God, I got this problem when my blanket got taken away. How do I get back to it? No, you don't. You don't. Just leave it alone. What is the purpose of trying to get rid of what's already in there to keep putting more in? That you can work with. You can't work with all the stuff you put in there. First of all, there's a lot of it. Okay? And some of it's very big. You don't even want to think about it, do you? They're just, I'm done with that. Yeah, sure. What you mean is you push it away far enough towards not bothering you, at least consciously. Right? I'm telling you, you want to get out? You want to learn how to get out? You want to work your way back to being the most beautiful thing that ever could possibly exist every moment of your life? Don't start with the big stuff that you weren't able to handle before. Sit there and realize if you keep putting stuff in there, there's no reason to try and get rid of what's already in there. You just put more in there. So here's your challenge. You're going to wake up in the morning. You're going to go to bed at night. Here's what I ask you to do. I don't ask much. I ask when you wake up in the morning, you say to yourself, the purpose of my day is to not put more stuff in there. That's the most important thing. Why? Because the stuff you have in there is blocking your love. It's making you judge everybody. It's making you miserable. It's making you miserable. You want to be happy? Don't put more in. How do you start? You start with the simple stuff. I always use the same example. When you go to play the piano, you do not pick up Beethoven or Mozart. You pick up something called the scales, don't you? When you go to play tennis, you don't play Borg or McEnroe or the Williams sisters. You get a ball thrower, an automatic ball thrower, and you practice hitting different angles and you get a coach. It's the same thing here. If you want to learn to be okay, you have to practice being okay. But you don't do it by taking on Beethoven. You do it with the scales. Well, what is the equivalent of the scales? It is that when I wake up in the morning, I commit myself to saying, I'm not putting more in there today. I can go through this day without putting more in there. You can't, but you can try. just wait till you see. And you'll go where you're going to wake up, all right? So just this one day, I'm going to go through the day, and the moments are going to happen, and I'm going to handle them without storing them, making more problems for myself for tomorrow. I can handle today, all right? And then at night, when I go to sleep, before I go to bed, I'm going to sit up, and I'm going to sit there and say, how did I do? I'm going to take inventory. And if I see that I did okay with most stuff, but not when Sally sat next to George and he didn't even pay attention to me, 8.5 billion people didn't pay attention to you at that moment. And you're going to freak out about Sally and George, or the one I like that's very neutral. None of you freak out over it, the driver in front of you. Have you ever not been able to handle the driver in front of you? My gosh, you're going 10 miles an hour below the speed limit. You didn't even use your blinker. You keep stepping on your brakes, right? And you talk to him, don't you? Who has ever talked to the driver in front of them? Who has never talked to the driver in front of them? Nobody. It's not doing anything. They don't hear you. It's not changing anything. All it's doing is disturbing you. Can you get disturbed by the driver in front of you? Have you ever gotten to work or home and told people about how the person was driving? In other words, I'm going to take this negativity that I didn't like. I'm no longer on the road. In fact, usually with me, they turned off 3 blocks from, they turned off. What do I do? Make a mess of myself. It's like, it isn't doing any good. You're bothering yourself for no reason. Those are the ones I want. I'm not asking for much. Other people want you to meditate for hours. Meditation is wonderful. I want to see what's happening when you're not meditating. It's very important to catch on. You are ruining your own life. These things are not innocent. They're basically saying, I can't handle the moment in front of me. Aren't they saying that? I can't handle the moment in front of me. It's too hot. They're driving too slow. I didn't use a blinker. Wow, man. I call that low-hanging fruit. I told you when I did the interview with Oprah, and she read the new book, she pulled out, because she's deep, a very important line in the book. And you should pay attention to it. The moment in front of you is not bothering you. You're bothering yourself about the moment in front of you. The driver in front of you is not bothering you. They're just driving how they drive. You're bothering yourself about the driver in front of you. The weather is not bothering you. You're bothering yourself about the rain, about the heat, about, right? You're bothering yourself about these things. The fact that they went from daylight savings time to standard time, and it's dark and it's night. I'm sorry, you're not going to change it. Complain about all you want. Or enjoy it. Your choice. I want you to deal with these low-hanging things where the cost is 100%, the benefit is 0, that you're bothering yourself. And I dare you to try and go through the day without bothering yourself. There may be some bigger things that happen. I don't care about those. I want these low-hanging fruit things that the only reason they're bothering you is you decided they would. Here's a test. Could somebody else be happy about them? Or could the farmer be happy about daylight standard time? Or could the farmer be happy about the rain? Could the grandson of the person who's driving in front of you, that he knows she just has a few years left, that she has the freedom to drive and take care of herself, could they be happy that she's driving the way she's driving? Cautious, extra, he or she? Well, if somebody else can be happy about it, then you can too. You just decided not to be. Fair enough? If you will work with that, wait till you see what happens. They write me from all over the world. It works, they write. It works. My whole life has changed. By doing what? Is that what I just told you? That will change your life. Why? You just took control of what's happening inside of you, and you are the only one in there, so you have complete control of what's going on in there. Instead of trying to take control of what's going on outside, which, believe me, there's a lot of competition, and trying to make it be the way that your inside doesn't get bothered. Why don't we work inside and stop being bothered? Why don't we stop bothering ourselves and wait to see what happens? And then what's going to happen, you do it with the low stuff. Make it fun. It's a video game. Just make it a game. It's fun. See if you can handle things. And so you start working with yourself. The new book gives you techniques, but you just positive thinking, mantra, witness consciousness. I don't care, right? Just don't do it. Find a way that's comfortable within yourself to change the energy that is habitual, where you're destroying yourself by bothering yourself. And what's going to happen is you'll start doing it with the low-hanging fruit, and next thing you know, something will happen that's bigger, not enormous, but bigger, and you won't even notice because you learned how do you ultimately deal with it. Something happens, your mind starts to get negative, your heart starts to close, you start to complain. Relax. And that's my experience. Relax. No, relax. Just relax through it. Just like you relax through an asana or relax through a massage. When somebody's massaging you, they hit the part that hurts. What do you say? Oh, right there, right there. Do that with this. All right? Relax through it. Just keep relaxing. Relaxing. You can also do mantra or do whatever you want to do. I don't care. But work with yourself. That's called working with yourself instead of working with everybody else. My God, how many people pass through your life? You can't control them all. How many situations happen? In here, you are complete control. That's your kingdom. Nobody else lives in there. It's your mind. It's your feelings. It's your energy. It's your will. Work with yourself. And what will happen is, next thing you know, something will happen a little bigger, and you won't have trouble with it. You do the same thing. You just relax, 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 relax. That's what they write me. They said, oh my God, I can't realize it. Just keep relaxing. And it keeps working. Well, of course, instead of bothering yourself, you're relaxing. And it will pass through. And you'll learn to let these things pass. And more, then something will happen, and then a bigger thing will happen, and eventually it may take some time. I don't care. I don't care. That's what your life's about, learning to do this. You will get to a point where nothing is worth not relaxing through. Nothing. Why? The more you relax, the more you let go, the more you realize what I really painted strong and living untethered. Your stuff that you stored in there is blocking the Shakti. It's blocking the flow of this amazing energy that sometimes you feel as love, as joy, as inspiration. It's always there. But now it's conditional on matching your stuff, right? It has to be just the right thing for you to open. As you let go of your stuff, you're open more and more. And you start feeling all this joy for no reason. You just feel all this joy come up inside of you. You feel rushes of love. You want love? Wave your hand past your heart. It'll boom out. There, just cross that chakra. Love comes pouring out for as long as you want. More love you ever felt before. It's yours. It's inside. You don't need anything to feel love. You don't need anybody. Nothing wrong with having them there, but you don't need them to open you. You know how you do it? Stop closing. You want the most love you ever felt? Don't go find somebody that opens you. Stop closing. And you will always feel love. You want to feel inspiration and passion? What job? I have to find a job? No. You have to stop blocking your inspiration and passion inside, and you'll feel inspiration and passion for everything. That's what we've talked about tonight. You're working your way back to the garden. You're letting go of this garbage you stored in there and identified with. And what's going to happen, I'll close now, is when the joy, it's Shakti, it's bliss, starts flowing inside of you, you start identifying with that. I notice feeling all this spirit, all this energy, all this beauty. That's who I am. Very good. Then what will happen is instead of trading it off, you don't want to trade that off. So you said something I don't like. Okay, fine. I ain't giving this up because you said something I don't like. But thou hast insulted me. Fine, insulted me. To me, that's what Christ means by turning the other cheek, by the way. He doesn't mean that somebody attacks you and protects your body, right? He means this stuff coming in, you get stupidly insulted by stuff. Let it go. That's turning the other cheek, isn't it? That's called letting go. Okay? I'm not going to make a thing out of it. I'm going to let it go. All right? So if somebody says something and you're in there and you realize I'm feeling $1 million worth of joy, I ain't giving up for $1. I ain't trading. I want to see you when you get to that point. Because it's under your control. What that person says is not under your control. What you do about it is yours. You use it to let go. And the more you let go, the more Shakti there is. The more you let go, the more Shakti there is. Until it gets so strong, right, that now you're hardly living down here. It's flowing up, feeding you. Man does not live by bread alone, by every word that leaveth the mouth of God. Ever heard that one? It means there is a rush of holy waters flowing inside of you, but it's blocked. Remove the blockages, and you will start feeling it. And then eventually it gets so strong that you realize, I can't even look down. What's going on down there doesn't matter. This is sweeping me up, and it's calling you to let go, to merge with it, to get in, and just drown, and it starts dawning on you, where's the source of this energy flow? Where's the source of my consciousness? It has to come from somewhere. And now we're back to meditate on the self, honor and worship your own being, for God dwells within you as you. Right? God dwells within you as you. Isn't that beautiful? Right? As the consciousness itself is ecstasy. The Shakti will take over, and it will lift you up. Jai Gurudev.